Hi, I'm Steph Chalk, and we're here at TPS University closing up a session at Marquette University. And I have with me Scott. Scott, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Scott Colthurst. I work for Olympus Group in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're a large format digital printer specializing in fabric printing. We also have a mascot business, which is part of our business also.
Okay, great. And how long have you been touching the 401k and working with participants?
Well, I just recently moved over to HR. I spent about 8 years in manufacturing leadership at the company, and we're growing very fast, and we needed some more leadership in the HR area, and it's always been an interest of mine working with people, so I moved over there about 6 months ago.
Thank you. And you mind if I ask you some questions specifically about your plan?
No, not at all.
Okay, great. I understand that you recently went through a benchmarking / search to increase the service level on a couple of areas of your 401k. Could you tell me about that?
As part of making sure that we had the right advisors and company to work with, we went through a process where we had certain categories. We want to make sure that the company could do education in bilingual standpoint, because we have large group. Part of our business is sewing the product also, and many of our sewers, English is a second language. We have a large Hmong contingency and large Hispanic contingency, so it's important that our advisors could work with us to be able to educate in Spanish and Hmong. We also tried to check to make sure that they were associated with a large bank, to make sure there was good, solid fiduciary backup to making sure we could support our business. So.
Thank you. And the fiduciary side was an aspect of what you were looking at, correct?
Absolutely. With the responsibility that we take on as committee members, it was important to have someone who were experts in the field that make sure that we're following the letter of the law, that we're supporting our participants accordingly.
And how long did this process take, where you looked at your existing providers and said, we really need to make some changes here, and then went through the search process and actually found out who you wanted to work with going forward?
Well, it actually took quite a long time. I mean, with all the other things that an HR department and the CFO is part of our team too that has to do, we did well over 6 months looking at different teams or different advisors that could help us. So it took quite a while, but we made a decision last fall and made the move.
Okay, and as a result of that, what has changed in your organization? What's gotten easier? What's gotten better?
Being relatively new, it's gotten easier. The current advisors we're with, they're very good at educating us on what our responsibilities are and bringing in new ideas to be able to communicate to our participants and increase our participant level. So.
Good. What would you look at next if you're going to change anything else on your plan? What do you have on the pipeline to take a look at and reconsider?
We're going to do the same thing with our record keeper. Not so much to change the record keeper, but we believe it's important every so often to take a look at what services are provided, what other services are out there, so we make sure that we have the best of the support for our participants.
Okay, and that's key for what our conversation was during the session today. You had mentioned that you saw a need. You identified that need from the language standpoint, but you were able to get that from your existing provider with a little bit of tweaking and requesting, but you didn't have to change everything in order to get that from your existing provider.
Right. One of our criteria for our advisor was to be able to communicate in a second language, and they worked with our current record keeper, who we still have, and they provided a translator. So we had meetings where the presentation was given on education of why the 401k is important, and then the record keeper had a translator on a conference call with the session going on to translate to Spanish. We had one session for our Hispanic group and then one session with our Hmong group to make sure that they understood exactly what the advantages of being in the 401k plan were and answer any questions they might have.
Good. And then this was your first TPSU program, is that correct?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And what are your thoughts?
It was very good, very educational for me. I'm relatively new to the HR side. Spent many years since I started my career as a 401k participant. Now being on the plan sponsor side, it was very important, very informative.
Good. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Glad you came today. And that wraps it up for us at Marquette University. And you can watch us on 401k TV.